Well, I came to Chicago in 1961 at the height of movement towards the Black period. Young African Americans all over the country were being greatly inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Stokely Carmichael, the SDC, all of these actions that were taking place. But then as I lived with my sisters, and I ultimately got a job teaching school, when the counselor gave me the potential openings and where I could come, he mentioned a school in a nice neighborhood. And then he said, but just talking to you, I think you'd be more interested in an opportunity we have on the west side of Chicago with overaged underachievers. And so I was going to be coming to teach in a disadvantaged area that appealed to me. And I decided to come to the West Side School, where Alderman Ed Smith and I met. And both of us taught there for a number of years. And we also gravitated towards getting involved in the community. There have been some just outstanding heroes and sheroes who lived in the area. I think of HSI as one of the real fun ones to remember. HSI started Reverend Samuel Mason Carter, who was a Vista volunteer, as a matter of fact, who came to Chicago after he retired as the director of research for the United Methodist Church in the Baltimore area. And he came and got involved. He and a great social worker and his wife, who also became a great social worker, Ernie Jenkins, Gloria Jenkins, and Reverend Carter, were members of the United Methodist Church, the big one downtown. And they were on the Social Concerns Committee, and they got a $500 grant. And by then, Reverend Carter had become pastor of Clare Christian United Methodist Church, and he was about one of the most passionate and most eloquent spokespersons I've ever known. They got this $500 grant, and he started in the basement of his church something called the Wesley Workshop. And they were able to get a little program started for children who had disabilities. And one of the airlines let them stuff pillows. Of course, a fellow named Tom Smith worked with Reverend Carter and Ernie and Gloria. He kind of ran the operation. Then they developed a Rotary Connection drug program. They started dispensing methadone, and they had the methadone maintenance program. That, of course, was controversial because some people didn't think methadone was the way to treat addiction, and they ran into trouble with the program. But Ernie had a great relationship with state agencies, and we convinced them to let Ernie and I manage the program until they could get a real director. And so we managed the program in terms of keeping the records and all of that stuff. And then, lo and behold, HSI, wasn't HSI then, it was Rotary Connection Drug Program. They were able to get 2 young social workers with MSW credentials. I think both of them have gone to the University of Chicago. One, Larry Bird, ran HSI, really got it moving. Robert, he passed away, unfortunately. Robert Smith ran it and kept things moving. And then, of course, he too. But they were fortunate because they had another young fellow there working MSW, right, who had not lived in that community so much, but with West Side roots and born, raised, and grown up on the West Side, going on to the University of Illinois, school, MSW. A fellow named Don Duke was there. So now they got to select somebody to be the new director. And they ended up selecting Don Duke and never looked back. First, some of us didn't know what HSI meant when they named it. Habilitative Systems. What that meant, rehabilitation. No, it's Habilitative Systems. But they continued to develop programs and functioned with a great deal of creativity. And there were kind of lay people that they managed to attract. They stole one of the people who used to work for me. And she got a woman named Nola Bright, went over to work for them. And there were other people, a woman named Lucy Lewis, got real, we all called her Lucy Jean Lewis, who had been a stalwart community activist in the area for as long as I can remember, dating back to the time when she and a lady named Bernetta Howe Barrett and Nancy Jefferson and Earlene Lindsay were of Mont Fletcher. They were part of the female leadership of the community. Each one of them a super powerful woman in her own right, and who led and helped glue the community together, while the professional staff now at HSI, Habilitative Systems, were developing programs that became accredited. It's one thing to have a program, it's something else for somebody to say it's good. You ain't just saying it yourself, but all these other professional people are saying that it's good. Then they ventured into building senior housing. And of course, any area can make use of that. But the senior housing that HSI has developed, they've been creative in terms of, I know they named one building after one of the women who was a member of Clare Christian and you know, a stalwart, Miss McCoy. And of course, they named one, and I thought that was just magnificent and great. I know that Mother's Day is coming up pretty soon. I couldn't think of a better way for one to pay tribute to their mother. They ended up naming one Enola Dewey after Dawn's mother. And so I mention all of these people because all of those individuals played roles, and very significant roles. And the real deal was having an executive who was able to attract not only funding, but also attract individuals to serve as members of the board of directors.
I cannot imagine a more worthy cause than HSI and the wonderful work that it has been doing for so many years. And I think that Brother Dew and the rest of the organization, all the board members, all of you exemplify the kinds of community efforts that we need to help rebuild ourselves. And so thank you very much.
Thinking about agency development, thinking about how institutions end up with reputations. You know, if you want so and so and so, look at Howard University. If you want so and so, look at Johns Hopkins Medical Center. So I don't call it a program anymore. I call it an agency that should be institutionalized and will be institutionalized because of the quality of the services, but also because of the continuous expansion. I'm saying you never have enough of what is needed when you talk about servicing low and moderate income, but also disadvantaged communities. And so HSI stands as a beacon of hope. When I think of super and a super anything, super can sometimes mean superior vision, superior work. The interesting thing, to become a super agency, and I give Don a great deal of credit for him, because you can't lead where you don't go, and you can't teach what you don't know. And so to have run through this agency a feeling that we've got to be good, we've got to be the best, we've got to meet the standards that the accredited people will say we're good. So our people got to be educated. They got to be knowledgeable. They got to be, I'm a big believer in credentials, all that kind of stuff. A lot of people don't know it, but, I earned a doctorate degree in 1977 and have always been oriented towards good, better, and best. Never let it rest till your good becomes your better and your better becomes your best. And so this agency promotes that kind of culture and has been able to create within their staff a feeling that you want to be good at what you do. I think of Dr. King used to say in some of his speeches, if you are the best of whatever it is that you do, even if you are sweeping streets, somebody would come by and say, here is the #1 street sweeper. I think the leadership at HSI has been able to convey to staff persons that if you're going to be a part of the HSI system, then you're going to be a part of the legacy that they want to have, and that is a legacy of being the best. I just like the idea of knowing that I have been surrounded by some of the best in the business. And it's kind of like my mother used to tell us, if you can't be a pine at the top of the hill, be a scrub in the valley, but be the best little scrub by the side of the wheel. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail If you can't be the moon, be a star. It's not by size that you win or fail, but be the best, the very best of whatever you are. And I think HSI is among that.